A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to Super Foam Flying. And so, for today, in case you haven't seen the title, or these glasses, it's time that, once again, the hyper line, or keen line as I've always called it, comes back in my life. And well, you're probably wondering exactly what blaster it is. Well, it's gonna be the Mach. That's right. The big Mac Daddy of them all. The Mach 100. And what do I have to say about this? Well, honestly, not a whole lot, but the thing is that what could I possibly say about this? It's pretty much the same exact thing as the rival Percy's. Though there are a couple of differences here. Key differences that you might want to get to know about. First of all, tactical rails. There's one all the way on here for some odd reason. There's also one on top, so I don't really know exactly why Nerf would even bother putting tactical rails elsewhere when, honestly, there's tons of good spots that they could put them on. Like, you could stick one on the side right here, right next to where the hopper is. A hopper that could fit 100 rounds, so I'd say that's probably one thing I might like about this blaster, is because it has a hopper that is double the capacity of what the Percy's could fit in at maximum. Unless you were willing to buy separate modification packages from various third-party retailers all across the world. As for this, I currently hadn't seen a whole lot about that. Modification packages regarding hoppers for this particular lineup doesn't really seem to be existent. And you know why? Because it sucks! The Keen line is just garbage. And I'll tell you why. Apart from the good things I've mentioned about this blaster, of course there is attack rail on top, appropriately so, but what's with the use of an iron sight? Albeit one that can go down and then back up. It's really hard to get up though. Like, I might hurt my own joints and ligaments. So, yeah, just another excuse for me to say that we got another blaster that can actually injure you if you're not careful. Yeah, trying to get this sight up is... it just puts a strain on your muscles. Because it's so tight. When bending up or down, like, that's just not excusable. And then, of course, let's not forget that the same sort of problem takes place when trying to empty the hopper out to begin with. This blaster does use motorized power. So that's basically what that's like. And it actually takes a lot longer to charge up the flywheels when talking about the Percy's. That thing was on steroids. Like, the 1500 mAh battery that it came with was able to send the flywheels up to a huge overload level. In layman's terms, they spin so fast that you could dish out all the rounds in less than 10 seconds. Which is just crazy. That's a crazy rate of fire if you ask me. But how does the rate of fire work on this? Well, let's test it out. Well, I'd say it's about the same as the Percy's, so not much to compare on that part. But as I said before, there's a bit of a problem when delaying the hopper itself. Trying to empty it out completely would take you a while longer than the Percy's. And that's because of one big flaw: the rounds themselves. As you can see, the hopper opens up like that. So it's not as big of a hole to dump your rounds in. So, for example, if you're trying to fill them up with those 50 round canisters or 100 round canisters, then you might run into a couple problems. So, as you can see, I got one of these canisters here. yeah, so the rounds themselves just aren't very good for trying to put in the blasters like this, because after all, these rounds, they're made from some sort of like silicone material and feel kind of sticky in the hands. There's a lot of friction to them for the most part, so they could easily get stuck on the walls or any of the interior parts of the hopper. So that's just part of the problem on that part. You can expect delays when trying to push the rounds directly into the flywheels and make them fly. And that's just another big problem. One last thing that I could highlight though would be the battery that this thing runs on. Or should I say batteries, plural for battery. Because this thing does not come with its own battery. Seriously. Like, if you could make a separate battery for the Perseus, why not this one? This is literally coming from me. A guy who might as well be George Washington incarnate. Always telling the truth. This does not come with its own battery. Consider that a fatal flop! Oh my gosh. And the biggest thing about it is that it costs even less than the Perseus. $74 it costed in 2021. But as the years went on and the line started to deteriorate very badly because of how poor it performed in all of our own hands, especially my part. I mean, I'm the guy who literally has no clue why a series like this needed to exist. A poor excuse just to say, we're done with the rival line. We don't like it anymore. We like to dish it out in the worst year of all time! Man. That is a huge no-no. Rival is here to stay. I got proof that it will stay permanently. And even more so, when basically coming down to the fact that Rival pretty much reincarnated themselves with amazing blasters like this guy right here. Ha-ha! We did it! We've made it a pearly thing again, and I don't think it will go away for any other time other than me. I'm serious right now. Why? Why, Hasbro? Why would you do this to us? Trying to sell a crappy blaster? For $74. Oh, gosh. I cannot freaking trust that this exists. Oh my gosh. So you know what? It sucks. Bad Hasbro. Bad, bad, bad Hasbro. Oh man. Like, that just sent me over the edge. So, if you're wanting to hear about my score on this one, well, 5.9 out of 10. So you know what? It's only bad if you say it's bad. I say it's bad, yet I gave it a scoring that probably should have been more than what it really should have been worth, because it's got great ergonomics, it has the appropriate weight distribution, because with the usage of actual batteries instead of their own battery that they included with the Perseus or something similar to it, they actually are able to gauge the amount of balance from the front to the back end properly. And then of course with the fire rates, it actually does good enough to at least rival the likes of the rival Perseus. Pun City. Like, that was just amazing right there, what I just pulled off. Man. This is literal proof. Rival is here to stay, and the Keen line can just go die in a hole and be burned up by kerosene gaslighting. So, do us all a favor, Hasbro. Never bring it back. Never continue it. But keep Rival up and running for as long as possible. It is a great series and always will be. Keen has no place on Earth or anywhere in the whole solar system or maybe even the universe. So anyways, this was a pretty long review, but I just got so carried away by how atrocious this line is that I see no reason to go into it any further. I know there are other blasters, but I mean, even with the Fuel 20, for example, which was the only blaster they released for the line that year, it just goes to show that the line never did well in the beginning, and even as it went on, adding new blasters every now and then, it still doesn't do good. So anyways, 5.9 is my score to this blaster. You could probably argue otherwise, but that's just your own deal. You're on your own. So make sure that if you'd like to see more on my channel, like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.